Hello everybody and welcome to a brand new Elder Scrolls Online video with me, Sherman. Today guys, I'm going to be just kind of going over some changes I'm making to how I release my builds and why I'm making those changes, but I do want to ask you guys a question. So I have a poll on my channel, as you guys can see. I wanted you to see this. So I have a poll here. It says, how do you want the builds listed? And this way I can create playlists based on your guys' feedback. Do you want them listed by role? Do you want them listed by solo, PvP, casual, or meta? Or do you want them listed by role but broke down to casual and meta? And what that means is, like, I would list them tank, healer, damage. So there would be those three roles listed in playlists, and then I would break them down inside of there based on casual or meta. Or do you want them listed by solo, PvP, casual, and meta? So I want to hear from you guys. I want your feedback on this, because starting next week I will be releasing builds, and the way I'm going to be releasing builds is I'm going to be releasing them just like this, so you guys can hear and it'll be clear. So I'll be releasing builds going without any, like, what content they're released for. I'm just going to release builds based on what type of role they play and whether they're casual or whatever. I'm going to be releasing the builds that way, but I'm not going to be listing them as like Wrathstone DLC or elsewhere or anything like that. It's just going to be builds in this way. And what I'm going to do is, however I release builds, I'm going to put those builds into the different categories, and then I'm not going to change them or update them at all unless the CP changes, and then I will not update them. I will just update my CP configuration. So that way you can just go look at the builds and be like, okay, this is cool. Where do I find the, what CP do I need to use? And then what I'll do is every update I'll be like, okay, here's the new DPS CP, here's the new tank CP, here's the new healer CP, so on and so forth. So that way it's easier for players to just put together the builds, because the stats and stuff won't change, just the CP allocation. So it's not going to be complicated, it's not going to be hard, it's just going to be that CP stuff. So that's what I want to do from now on. I will continue to do guides, news, and Let's Talks. And my Let's Talks, this is a Let's Talk, basically, where I'm talking to you guys about the changes I might make to my channel, or just talking about different information within the game and things like that. So another thing I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be releasing builds of all kinds. So the builds will be tanks, healers, damage dealers, and they will also be hybrids. There will also be light, medium, heavy armor, tanks, healers, and DPS. Because this is Elder Scrolls, I want people to find builds and things that fit their personality and playstyle for the content they like to do. Because I get asked all the time, can you make a healer in medium armor? Yes, you can. It's not that you can't. It's just, you have to understand there's certain repercussions or certain benefits and non-benefits to using certain sets for certain builds. And that's one of the things that I want people to understand with these builds is not all builds I release will be meta. I will release meta builds, and those meta builds will change based on the meta's changes. So otherwise they'll never change. So like, I might release a whole bunch of tank builds, they'll never change. Like, all the meta stuff will never change unless the meta changes. Otherwise, they're going to stay the same. Just like with all my builds, the builds will never change because there's no reason to change something that's not broken. Now, if they do make some major adjustments to gear, to sets, and things like that, I might go in and alter the builds. Like, go in and redo the videos on certain builds so that those builds are up to par with the changes, but that's about it. I'm not going to spend a lot of time like every update making thousands of new builds. That's just not, I can't do it. I'm not that good. In this way, it's just a lot easier to understand. So I will have a section that I will be adding to a new playlist I will be adding called CP allocation for roles. And then it'll be, in there will be damage, tank, healer, hybrid, so on and so forth. So people can go in there and go, okay, I'm playing this build of his. This is the CP allocation I need to use. Boom. And that's it. It's that it'll be that simple. That way, it's like I said, it's not complicated. It's not really hard to do. And for those who ask, do I have a website? No, I do not. And the reason I don't have a website is, no offense to anybody, but YouTube doesn't pay me enough to get a website yet. But as soon as I start making the money to where I can afford a website, I will set up a website, and I will keep it up to date with all my builds if I can, and all my stuff that I do, so that way it's easier to access that information, and you can find it right there on the website. But it's going to be still some time, maybe a year from now. I mean, if I can break 10,000 subs, that's what I'm shooting for, is 10,000 subs. If I can get to 10,000, then I can start working on doing that channel, or doing the website, because you got to understand that I don't make a lot of money at this, and then the other income that I have in my household, kind of thing. So I'm not going to get into the math on that, or into my personal stuff. So yeah, we'll leave it at that. But yeah, if I can get to 10,000 subs, I will try to start doing a website and keeping it up to date and everything like that. But until then, for now, this is how I'm going to be doing things. So I just wanted to kind of give you guys a heads up on how I was going to do builds, all that kind of stuff. And there is a lot of great tools out there and resources from other content creators. And this way, like I said, it's all going to be there. Like, everything will be there. You can, if you're looking for a specific type of build, like I said, then it'll be there. So, and I will list them still, like, depending on how you guys decide you want them done. So, go to that section in my channel, my community section, and leave your guys' thoughts on how you want them listed, because that's how I want to do things. And once I do this, I'm going to release all the builds. Like, again, I'm going to redo all my builds again, so it's all of the information's up to date. It's all where it needs to be. I have millions of ideas. In fact, I've been filling a notebook with ideas lately on builds. And it's ridiculous how much information I have written over the past few weeks into this notebook. You guys know those, like, college rule made notebooks? You can pick them up like the dollar store for like $1, and it says mead on it, and then you like open it up. It's like a solid book. I've got one of those, like, pretty much almost full with builds now. And basically, what I do when I do write my builds in there, I just basically write down the race, like the class, not the race, the class, the gear sets that I wanted to use, how I want the stats to be allocated, like where I want the stat pools to be, and then I write down, like, I put stamina or magicka, health, stamina, and then I put what values I want them to be around, like, base area, and then I go into the skills I want to be on the front and back bars, all the information I need, and then I do the CP allocation too. That way I have that information, so if something does change, like I said, like a gear set changes, I can go in and I can be like, okay, this set's changed, and then I can scribble it out and like put a new set in there, or change it to the right appropriate values, so I know. But yeah, it's really cool. I mean, it's something I've never done in the past, and now that I'm doing it, it's like I have so many ideas, because people don't realize like how much you can really unlock when you understand the dynamics of the game, or you understand the numbers behind the game, and you can really break that stuff down into different categories and go, okay, this is where I want this build to be when I release it, but I also need to test it. So this way I can go in, I can create it, test it, play with it for a while, see how it works out, make sure it fits within the dynamics or the content that I say it does, and then I can post it online and be like, hey, here's this build, it's really cool, it's really fun. But yeah, I've just been doing that for the last few weeks, just writing stuff and keeping track of things and all that. I wanted to do it on my computer, but I don't like to take up space on my computer, even though a WordPad isn't, a Word document can't take up a lot of space. They can, but they don't. So, and if you guys are wondering what this is on the screen, this is something that I'm working on. And I might release next week, depending on how things go. This might be one of the first Necromancer builds I release. So, it's a really cool build. I'm totally surprised it works as well as it does. But it's a lot of fun to play. It does work in dungeons. It does work in normal and veteran dungeons. It does work in some trials on, well, most trials on normal mode. Veteran mode, it's kind of comes down to like your group, if they'll allow it. If their group allows it, then it works great, because it does so many different things, and it just works out really well for not only your group but also for the dynamics of the build. It's just a really interesting build, and I've been having a lot of fun with it. So yeah, so hope you guys are excited, because I'm super excited. You guys have no idea how many different builds I have built for different classes and things like that, because not only do I have all the builds I've made in the past, but I still have a whole ton of new builds that I'm working on right now. One of them I'm working on, I'm going to give you a few names, because they are themed. I'm working on something, a new version of the Barbarian, a new version of the of a build called the Champion, one called the Cavalier, and then I'm working on a build, I'm working on the Dervish. I don't have my notebook near me, so I can't remember all the names. I'm working on a new version of the Dervish. I'm working on a Necromancer. I don't have the Necromancers named, like the classes named yet, or the builds named yet. But I do have a two-handed tank version of the Necromancer. I have a sword and board tank. I have an ice staff light armor tank. I have a medium armor tank, and I have a light armor DPS, magic DPS, medium armor magic DPS, and a heavy armor magic DPS. I'm working on stamina DPS and light, medium, and heavy. And I know what you're gonna say. Why are you making a light armor stamina DPS? It trust me, when you see it, you'll be like, oh, now I get it. But it's basically, when I do something like that, it's more of a support role than or kind of like a hybrid healer role. It's really interesting how it works out and how it plays. So I'm working on a lot of different things, and on top of that, besides the Necromancer, I still have 5 other classes that I'm redoing pretty much every build I've ever made again. So like the Dragon Guard, I've redone. It is now... That's all I can say. Like, it's really cool. I have, it's just give me some time. But you guys should be really surprised by this. I hope you guys are really excited for it. I'm beyond excited, because now that I've come out about this casual builds, and that's just what it is. It's casual builds to help community members find builds that fit their personality, their play style, their preference of play. And you could even say some of these are role play type builds, but at the same time, they're builds that are made to be min-maxed to their fullest potential. So every build I release will be min-maxed to its fullest potential. And for those who are questioning about CP, you remember that CP allocation section that I'm going to be adding to my playlists? In there, I will have a section that explains CP allocation, because I'm going to redo my CP video, explaining how to allocate CPs properly as you're leveling, as you're progressing. And then once you get to max CP, like, hey, this is what you want to do now, is find one of these CP allocations and use it based on the different roles you might play. So, and you got to remember, mine is not going to be the same as Outcast's or Asian Gods or anybody else's CP allocation. So if you're looking for a different type of CP allocation, feel free to use theirs as well, because theirs will work with most of my builds. So, but that's pretty much it for this video, guys. I hope you guys like it. I hope you guys are excited, like I said. And if you are, you guys know what's coming next. Go ahead and hit that like button. If you guys want to see more videos by me, you can subscribe. Other than that, I want to thank you all for watching. Until next time, have a wonderful day. And this guy might see you in game. Bye.